Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lorie Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. Well, today we're being joined by a very special guest. This is a long time coming. And just in case you're unaware, Sam, Sara, and Cyntia are not special guests, but they are special nonetheless.
But
you're not guests.
Yeah, we're
you're on the
regulars.
clock right now.
Yeah.
You're the regulars. You're
I'm
the
not
regulars.
But we get paid to
we're
cry
joined
here.
by one of my favorite people, which is actually, frankly, a very short list. Candice Lott, and here she is.
Oh my gosh, I might fall over.
Yay. I'm gonna pause for Sara to enter fake applause. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so Candice, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, what do you want to know? All right, let's see. I am married. Second marriage. 2 kids, almost.
Will that be relevant later?
That will be relevant. Everyone, make a fold down your
Spoiler alert.
bookmarks. Spoiler alert. I live in Plano. Whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
I have 5 dogs. That's fun.
Oh.
I live in a fixer-upper that we are remodeling ourselves, and I work for a nonprofit.
So he's a little bit of a fixer-upper.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Frozen song.
Currently,
why am I only referencing Disney movies?
Because you have small children. You have small children.
Well, they're actually large children, like 97th percentile.
But like
they're young.
Yeah, they're wee ones, wee lads.
But also, this is Lorie's like entertainment. It's what gets her attention too. So
it's true.
It's true. We actually are talking about going to see Despicable Me tonight.
Nice.
So that may be happening. So let's wrap this up, shall we? Yeah. So Candice, so welcome. And how? So hi. Candice and I met because we both were selected. I got just a few more votes than Candice did. No, I'm kidding. That's undisclosed information.
I was like, you found out the vote number?
Don't tell me. If I had to put money on it. Anyway, we were both in the Leadership Plano Class 40. Together, which is a great program. Please, everybody, check it out. And we're actually also now, which I also got a few more votes than you did for this. Just kidding. They don't submit the votes. But we're both on the Plano Leadership Plano Board of Directors.
We're very official. We're very official individuals.
So that's how we got to know each other. And the way that it sort of kicks off is there's this retreat where we were in bunk beds, and Candice and I were in the same room, the same space together.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yep. And I'm a wooer, and Lorie is Lorie.
And Lorie's Lorie. I lead with Lorie. So this is we'll start here because this is important. We actually talked about doing a whole episode on this. So part of the retreat is we did the Clifton Strengths Finders, which if you haven't done it, look it up. It's excellent. And so you get this whole rundown of a little bit more about you, like what your strengths are, so that you can understand a little bit more about you, a little bit more about the people you encounter, and maybe even understand some parts of yourself that you need to tone down. And so what I was about to tell you, Candice, is that we actually, I enjoyed that so much that I ended up doing that for the whole team.
Do you have any wooers?
Just hold your horses.
Spoiler alert, they're not in this room.
Yes. But yes. So we actually had Libby Spears, who is amazing. And she also, that's not who we had for Leadership Plano to do Strength Finders, but she did 2 different sessions with us. And so because she did the strength finders, we had her come in. So a little bit of the stuff that she did that I really liked, it was more in depth than what we got to do through the leadership Plano retreat. But you look at the top 5, and first of all, so this is partly where I'm leading. I the rest of the team here may remember what it is, but it's very rare to have a strengths twin, meaning you share the same top 5. It's like one in, do y'all remember what it was?
I think like $250,000, I think.
$250,000.
Yeah, something like that.
So with that said, we are joined by, in the same office, 2 people who are strengths friends, twins. Sara and Sam, not in the same order, but they have the same top 5 strengths. What are they?
That's wild.
Oh god, it is. It's been a while.
It's harmony.
It's not woo.
It's not woo.
Woo.
That's in my blessing release.
Mine's like in the middle, I think. But we have relator, adaptability, developer, empathy, and harmony.
And harmony.
And I think we have the 6th one the same as well. So it's top 6. So we have.
So we have top 6.
Wait, are y'all related?
Sarah has harmony.
No, we do seem like we are the same person though. So it's really not a shock.
That is what I forgot. Harmony was even a top 5 thing. I think my harmony
so the other thing that Libby did, because we did like a whole half day with this, is like your bottom 5. She had us put a box around it, and she called that our bless and release box. Like, just give it up. They're not ever going to be yours. There's nothing you can do. And so we use this quite often, is that's in my bless and release box. So woo is in my bless and release box. I will tell you. Yeah.
I'm very sorry, y'all. I woo a lot.
Yes. Do you remember your top 5?
Me?
Yeah.
Woo. I was actually trying to pull it up on email because I thought I had like emailed it to myself. I have it hanging on my desk at work.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. But woo,
I don't know.
That's yes.
Well,
and
I'm
that's
like
really
purple and orange, which is like a social butterfly.
Yeah.
Kind of person. Let's see if I can find it. What are you? You're not a wooer.
No, I told you it's my bless and release.
I know, but what are your top 5? Do you remember them? Do you have your name tag?
Responsibility, maximizer, strategic. Is futuristic a thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That sounds like, I feel like that's one.
Yeah. And then another one that
maximizer.
Is not I thought I said maximizer. Oh, achiever. Achiever. Responsibility, achiever, maximizer, strategic, futuristic.
I have maximizer on mine. I remember that.
Okay.
And achiever.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm real curious, and I need to get a picture so I can have it on my phone.
Okay, Lorie.
Okay, well, don't be distracted.
Strategic, responsibility, futuristic, maximizer, and achiever. That's you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Nailed it. Okay. So anyway, we've done this, and Candice has a very interesting story that she was regaling me with when we were first meeting, and we talk a lot. Oh, by the way, this show's about legal stuff. We harp a lot because it's something we encounter a lot, people who try to do the DIY route when it comes to legal planning. And then another thing that we deal a lot with is people who don't do any planning because they just haven't gotten around to it. Candice, I believe you have a story that even I, after my many decades of doing this, I had never heard of this actually playing out this way. And I said then, as I am saying now, one day I'm going to start a podcast. And when that day comes, one of those days, I'm going to have you on it to share this story. Would you like to dive in?
So there was a time back when I was not as educated as I am now because I did not have my friend Lorie next to me to walk me through life. So I was, and talk about Taylor Swift. I was previously married and we got divorced. But when we got divorced, we did the divorce ourselves. So like
Would you
www.google.
rather tell? So would you rather tell your whole story and then entertain questions, or do you want? Can we interject questions while you go along? What would you prefer? Because I can do either.
I think interject while I go along. That sounds more like
Okay,
a
so
popcorn situation.
so question: What
It took no
what
time.
made you and your ex-husband to be decide to do it yourself?
Because how to say this on a podcast that is nice.
Oh, we don't do that here.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Mm-mm.
I was informed
Full
that
send.
if I wanted the divorce, I had to pay for it, and I didn't make a lot of money. So I tried to ask a few attorneys about mediation, and that was kind of thrown off the table by my previous spouse. And so I found a form online through the callingcounty.gov thing.
Not a
And
sponsor.
not a sponsor. Literally printed it off, and I think I went on Reddit to make sure I filled it out correctly. I'm watching all your faces, and I'm going to go hang out in the closet.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. You
It's fine.
were younger, more impressionable then. It's fine. You're here now.
It
Okay.
wasn't that long
Okay.
ago.
So it was. So you weren't going to get any help. You were going to bear this burden yourself, and it really
Yes.
came down to what, at the time, more about this later, that you perceived to be the more economical, less expensive route.
Yes. So what we
Okay.
had done is we then filed everything ourselves. So I submitted it for, law to do its stuff. I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
That's what it's. That's what it's
Filed it.
called.
Yeah.
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 So you
Submitted.
had to
Yeah.
It's a lot do it stuff.
yeah, I uploaded it and it told me if I was what I was doing. And you have to wait, I think it's 60 days in the state of Texas for a divorce, if I'm correct. And whenever I submitted it, me and my ex-husband agreed he wouldn't pay child support because we would be nice and share the cost of everything. And we
Oh,
also
that sounds wise. Yeah.
yeah, it sounds wise. And we
Yeah.
also agreed that like we wouldn't like change any of the stuff. By the stuff I mean car loans, credit cards, any of that, because we're grown-ups, right? Grown-ups can do this. So
Absolutely.
we file it and then we get our
Mhm.
court notice and we're like, okay, great. We show up at the court. The judge looks at me and says, "Are you sure you want no child support?" And I was adamant. I was like, yes, because we are grown-ups. We can do this. Like, we will split the cost of these children. It'll be great. This is what grown-ups do. Co-parenting.
How many times did the judge ask if you were sure?
3 times.
Okay, cool.
3 times.
Fair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. He asked
Was
a lot.
that a sign to
Uh-huh.
you? Or were you like, oh, what a nice, friendly, caring judge, just to make sure I'm sure?
I don't even know. I very
Yeah.
vividly remember the day and it being very sad. So it
Yeah.
was just a very heartbreaking day.
That's true.
It's
Got
it's a
it.
heartbreaking
Okay.
day. So anyhow, we did the divorce. Yay, divorce. Ugh. We were official, and then fast forward a year later, and throughout all this time, like we have all these emails, like he would literally write me a check, like half C's of everything I had. And it was working out great. I would log in to pay the
Sure.
mortgage because he didn't know how to do it. So I would still log in to pay the mortgage of the house that he
It
lived
is
in, the house that
tricky.
I
I
lived
mean, the
in.
whole
Yeah,
username password thing.
it's very tricky, very sure.
Yeah,
Remembering it's hard,
it
typing
is.
is hard.
Yeah.
It's all hard. So then you fast forward, and it is now May of 2020. We got divorced in May 2019. May of 2020, he had an incident and he unfortunately did end up passing away. And that was still is a whole thing. But the thing that Lorie and I talked about the most was when he passed away, I didn't have child support. I claimed 0 whenever he passed away. So I was responsible for all of our debts that weren't technically our debts anymore because I wasn't using the credit cards that he was on. Like, I wasn't driving the vehicles he was driving that were in my name. So I became responsible for all of it, even though
Wow.
we weren't married. And even though his parents had taken over the administrator of the will, they got appointed. And I then proceeded to have to pay for everything. My car, or the car that he drove that was in my name, unfortunately, his folks decided not to pay for it because it was in my name. So it was repossessed. Credit cards that were in both of our names were not paid. So I had to pay for them. And mind you, we weren't married. I was a single mom at the time. I was working for myself, self-employed. So I had no money to speak of, and it was rough. So I'm now a very big advocate for people to absolutely do not say $0 for child support because, can I say, I don't know. I'm going to say it because that's terrible.
Sounds like you can.
We'll bleep it out
Yeah.
or quack or something.
Okay, yeah.
We're debating on what we're gonna use, like
Okay.
whether it's like a foghorn or Sara and Sam favor. Actually, it's me, a clip of me going wah wah. So
Those are all good. Those are all good. So it didn't go well for me. It ended up costing me so much money. But beyond the money, that wasn't the biggest thing. It caused the biggest just tear between my ex father and mother-in-law and myself. And
yeah,
it turned into just the nastiest.
which is your kids' grandparents.
Yeah, which is it was
and
the
then the
nastiest
only
thing ever.
connection
Yeah.
they have to their dad, who's
Yeah.
prematurely passed away.
And he was an only child, so they lost their only son, they lost their only child.
Wow.
He didn't have a lot of family, so it came to the point where we didn't talk to them for a year because of all of this, because my children were, they were the what's the word? They were the receiver of all of their dad's stuff.
The heirs.
Like, they were the heirs. And
Yeah.
questions were asked upon a 12-year-old girl at the time that were not appropriate. Like, do you want to buy
Wow.
do you want to sell or rent out your house? Because you now own it.
Wow.
And that's just not the question you want to pose to a child. So there
Sure.
was a lot of emotional turmoil over that. The money is one thing; it's the emotional damage that is done between that relationship and just, well, anybody in that relationship. But yeah, it was a disaster. The only, I'm going to say, saving grace out of all of it was I was named beneficiary on his life insurance through work. And since it was an accidental death, it paid out more, air quotes all around that. It was a work policy. It was a bare minimum policy. It wasn't that great. But I had to fight for that. His dad appealed it 4 times. So I had to fight for it every single time because I needed the money to pay for the debts that were now on my name. And like, my credit was in the 400s. I didn't know that was possible.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. His credit's still to this day. I still get emails. How I get these emails, I don't know. His credit's still in the 750s. He's been passed away for 4 years. Makes no sense.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So yeah, that's the very short story of
right.
all of it.
Right. And so to go back, when you did it, it was a financial reason, and then you all agreed to certain things that a lot of people, including the judge, thought sounded a little off.
Mm-hmm.
But you all making it work for the most part until he unexpectedly passed? I mean,
we had no problems. I mean, I was keeping a very specific inventory of what all checks are being, because, if you have kids and they're in school, every freaking week, it seems like something gets added to be like, send a check for here, send a check for that. So I was keeping inventory, and at the end of the month, we would tally it all up, and literally he would write me a check for half. And it was worked out lovely until it didn't. And then
Yeah. And the reason I
really
bring that
didn't.
up is I think that's one of the frustrations we deal with, particularly because we deal with the DIY when it's a will or a trust or some sort of estate planning, where when you find out it didn't work out, it really is too late. Kind of happened the same way with you, but it could have happened a different way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like what I don't think people realize is it's easy to fill out forms usually.
Yeah.
Filling it out. And that's one thing that really gets me with these online testimonials of all these different DIY legal programs is they have all these people saying how easy it was or how inexpensive it was. They don't talk about did it work? Like what and I'll even get, I love getting into fights with strangers on the internet. And so when I get tagged for the millionth time in one of these Facebook groups, it's usually a mom's group where people are absolutely unhinged. I do not know what's going on, particularly moms and Alan, but that's another story. So I don't know what's going on, but I'll get tagged, because someone will say I need to get a will or a trust or what have you. And so other attorneys will be referred, but I still feel like I'm a strong 3-1 on the referrals when they come up. Sometimes that's a mixed blessing. But then there'll be someone who's like, oh, just go here, go to this website, or I did it there. And I genuinely, I've gotten to this point where again, title of this podcast, one of us knows what they're talking about, another one is you. I lean all into that now. But I genuinely always ask, hey, have you had to use this? Do you know if that power of attorney would be accepted by a hospital? Do you know that the financial, like, I'm just asking, like, have you had to use it? Do you know? And they never answer. The other thing is we introduced this program. And if anybody's listening to this and you've got a DIY estate plan in Texas, use this. It's on our website. We have a free service where no cost, no obligation. In fact, you even get a discount on our services if you need it. Submit your DIY stuff. And so far, it's been me personally looks at it, reviews it, and gives you an analysis of it. And shocking as it may be, I have yet to find one that didn't have either significant or really horrible holes, gaps, or mistakes that are there. But they're never going to know it. It's like this false sense of security. How do you know? Like, you have kids, Candice. I think about this because I had no idea kids were so expensive. And I think the first time it dawned on me is when we were looking at like car seats and strollers and all of that. So, this stuff is insane. But what is it worth to you to make sure that if you get in an accident that your kid is going to be as protected as possible? Are you going to put a price tag on that? But I think it is actually won't. Cyntia knows of someone who doesn't, with the car seat, doesn't use the anchors. Is that what it was, Cyntia?
Yeah.
So it's just like the act of having the car seat in there. It's like this false, like I did that, but will that work? And
like
unfortunately, yeah. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people, like, I don't think they think that through. And you had to live in such an extreme way because the people that we have, since we do estate planning and not divorce, is when people find out that the DIY didn't work, they're dead. So they don't know what they did was so terrible. But their family, kind of like you, because there's still, a loss associated with your story. That's when you figured it out, but there was nothing to fix it because it was too late at that point.
And we kept saying, oh, we need to get a will. We need to get a will. We kept putting it off like, oh, we just don't have time. It's okay. We're young.
Yeah.
Nothing will happen.
Right.
And then we got divorced, still didn't have a will, clearly. And then that's when I learned that administrators, I believe my ex-father-in-law appointed himself the administrator, and there was no one to argue with it. I think that's how that worked. I don't remember. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was also during COVID of May of 2020. So everything was very, very interesting. And they had hired an interesting attorney to help them. And by interesting, I mean I had never met another attorney make me feel more small or more of a terrible human than that law firm did. And
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we now have a will. I
Yeah.
am now married to someone who his dad is a state attorney. So I think we got a will like a month after we got married. And we, you know, did the legal signing, did all of that. Like, yeah, I will
And
forever
I think
tell
what it
people about Lorie.
shows, yeah, I mean, I think the thing about it is it shows that you successfully got divorced. It's on paper. But that's not really what. Just like Cyntia knows someone who successfully has a car seat. There's a lot of people out there who think they successfully have a will. But what you didn't know that you wouldn't know without the consultation and work and really the advocacy of a qualified attorney, because let's be honest, they're not all created equally, but that it's like, look, we need to make sure that we take care of the debt and we assign who's going to take care of what, and names are changed in that. We need to make sure that assets are changed and who gets what and how this is going to be allocated. And they probably would have told you you're absolutely insane for the no child support or the this and that. But, if you keep going along, paying the stuff, doing that, you're not going to have any idea until something happens. So one way or another, this was just probably the worst way to find out, but one way or another, that was going to come back. And then because
Yeah.
he didn't have any planning, it just put everything in this whirlwind. And I like really your story still, and I've heard a lot of, I've heard a lot, but I had never heard a story like that before. But you know what? I bet it's not all that rare.
No, and it's crazy because like I joined so many Facebook groups about women in divorce and all that. And there's so many people across the US that were in there trying to figure out how to do the divorce themselves because it's costly. And if you're trying to get divorced, if you're trying to escape a domestic abuse, something like that, like you don't have the funds to pay for an attorney all the time. And you might not have even the resources to even like find someone who'll do it for pro bono. Like it is baffling to me that I survived it, and still talk to the humans on the other side. It is baffling because I mean, if we had done the divorce correctly and had child support in there and had everything done right, then there would have been no administrator. Like everything would have come to me. Like there would have been no question. There would have been no grief over everything. There wouldn't have been argument over a truck or a chair or a four-wheeler. It would have been very easily, okay, let's make the most we can for the girls so it can go into a trust and do the thing where money makes money in an account like that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, and it's hard. Like, I get it. People don't always have like this pool of funds to deal with. I think it's a little bit harder with the divorce situation because you're contemplating something where that's going to have a financial impact on you. Whereas when we're talking to people about wills and trusts and everything, it's not always. I mean, in fact, sometimes people are coming to us because they received an inheritance. So it's not as bleak of a financial situation, but at the same time, it's still trying to help people understand the value of putting that money in there. And so if anybody's like thinking they're going to get divorced, don't say it yet. Start putting money aside.
Yeah. And I mean, what was it you said that like, you might cost, a lot of money, air quotes around that to get your estate plan done. But just imagine how much it's going to cost whenever it's hanging
it's
out
going to be
in
more
probate. And you have to like my girls' trust accounts are now in a court appointed account, and it's $3,000 per account per girl per year, that their account gets charged for the court appointed person to manage it. And that's ridiculous. That's just crazy to me that they are losing $6,000 a year because of adults couldn't get along.
Yeah.
Another thing people don't realize, like I've worked in previously in family law firms, is you're not just separating like, okay, you no longer live together. You also go through all the debts and all the assets and you fully spell everything out. to where there isn't a question. And if you don't know what you're doing, like this is a good example of you just don't know.
You don't
really
know
know
what you
what you're
don't
gonna
know. I
do.
mean, really,
Yeah.
that's the whole
Exactly.
premise. And and you don't know it, and you don't like the thing. I keep harping on this, but I think it's part of the struggle. The struggle is real. Is you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know when you're going to know it because
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
know when it's gonna. You've got the piece of paper that you feel like you did the thing. So a couple more questions for you, Candice, and then I believe Sara and Sam have some very relevant, substantive questions for you. But the if you could go back, if you had a do-over, what would you do differently?
I would hire an attorney to get divorced. Step one.
How would you have paid for it though? Like what would,
So
let's get real
I
here, okay?
I would
How would
have
you have made that happen?
I probably would have asked my folks for help.
There you
I don't
go.
know if they would have said yes. If not, I had some other friends that would have stepped up. They like because whenever I was told to leave the house and go find a new one, I left with nothing but the clothes, my clothes and half of my girls' clothes, and my friends rallied around me and they filled a whole home for me and my kids, and that is just a beautiful thing that I'll never forget. So I had friends that were around that would have helped. I would have paid them back, of course, but I would have been smarter and asked. I would have asked for help, and I didn't. I didn't ask for help. I was trying to do it on my own because I was ashamed that I was getting a divorce. I was
Right.
ashamed that I even wanted a divorce. Like, what kind of person wants to divorce? Like, how terrible! What a failure! And I just didn't want. I didn't want to talk about it. When people wanted to ask me, I was like, "It's not your marriage. It's not your divorce. Go away." And I didn't
Yeah.
ask for help until the very end. And that's yeah. I would have asked for help, and I didn't. I thought I was a big girl and could handle my own failure problem.
Right. I mean, and I think one of the takeaways here that hopefully everybody's getting is that we are talking about the financial piece, but in your situation with what we deal with, what is the cost of the emotional and mental toll that this is taking, right?
Oh,
So even if it didn't save money to plan correctly, to go through that process, even if it's not saving money, what is, what is value? It's the exchange of something that is worth more to the person. So to me, it sounds like even if it had been the same cost as you ended up bearing, the ability to not have your girls go through that, to have the family strife with your ex in laws, to have so many things up in the air and just and probably things that you're dealing with and probably things, I'm sure I don't have to bring this up to you that your girls will be talking to a therapist about one day. Like
oh yeah.
what
Oh,
what is
they're in
the
therapy.
value, right? What is the value of avoiding that? And then the value of time. Because to me, that's what I look at. It's like, yes, there is a huge ROI as far as money. But let's say you've got someone who, for our purposes, wants to change, completely overhaul their estate plan every single year, right? That's probably not going to net out to saving money because you're only going to die once,
It's
right?
true. I, only
For most
once.
people. Most people. And so you're only going to die once. So there's a good chance that you could, if you're having to change things a lot, spend more dollars. But there's still all the other delay and time and emotional and mental heartache and everything. And then the piece for that I think in my wise older days now that I think about is really your legacy, your story. And no matter what happens, if you go out like that, that's going to be like this really horrible epilogue, at least final chapter, epilogue, whatever it is, that it'll always be part. That's how you're going to be remembered.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a very traumatizing time for both me and like my girls and his folks, and losing someone's always hard, but we did not get to grieve together.
Mm,
One, because of COVID,
yeah.
and then two, because literally we said the sentence that we had to talk through each other's attorneys at one point. Like, we could not have a
Yeah.
conversation that did not turn just volatile in a hot second.
Right.
And so because of that, I didn't get to grieve with my ex-in-laws. My kids didn't get to grieve with their grandparents. Like, and we still, to this day, are still having and will forever have trauma and issues around that relationship because of we didn't set it up correctly. So because we didn't set up
Yeah. And
ourselves to like succeed, our girls suffered just an insane amount of pain they didn't need to suffer.
right. And I don't say this to disparage someone who's no longer here who I didn't know, but more as a cautionary tale for all of you who are hearing this. And if you're hearing it, it means you still have time. You still got the opportunity, right? And so think about this. I didn't know him, but I could at least maybe guess that there is at the very least a small part of him that would never have wanted for this to be his final impact in
Oh,
this world.
I guarantee there was a lot that happened after he passed, even because he was in the hospital for a few weeks before he passed. And there was just stuff that happened even then. Like, if you don't have how, like, your DNRs, everything, like, you don't have
Oh,
that
sure.
set up,
Mm-hmm.
it puts that onto your family members. And a mom and dad should never have to tell the doctors, yes, please pull the plug, ever.
Right.
That was a terrible thing. I will never be able to understand what they went through. But no, he never in his wildest dreams would have been like, yeah, this seems like a great time. Can't wait to watch my family wreck itself. Yay. Um, no, it was terrible. And there's some days I talk about it and I'm fine, and there's days I talk about it and I am in balls of tears. So
Yeah.
it's still so fresh. And so I don't know. There's when people are like, oh, well, I don't need a will because, we're not married or we don't have any kids. I'm like, sit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So speaking of which, and this is like my last major question here is I'm going to assume, because I know how you navigate life, that you see a lot of the same chatter on the social medias that I do, which is, I know that's an
yes,
incorrect use of the word because media is plural. Just trying to be cute in case anybody's concerned. Uh, what do you do when you
disclaimer.
see people who are right? I know the right grammar. What do you do, like, when you see the way I see people who be like, oh, just do this or go online or use this program or whatnot? Like, how do you counter that?
Um,
Because
well,
I know
if
you
it's
can't keep your mouth shut. Because,
I,
woo,
I don't
woo.
know. I don't know what you're talking about. I am a quiet little mouse. No one knows I'm here. Um, First of all, depending on what they have talked about and like why they're here and why they're asking, I'll either tag you or another attorney. I have two attorneys I tag. Um,
Yes. Another
and
one is
then
fan. I know her.
yeah,
She is awesome. Great
she's
attorney.
she's the only reason I survived all of that through my ex-husband passing, because I didn't know Laura at the time, but she had so many phone calls to her crying. So God bless her. But it depends on who it is and how they're asking the question. If it's someone who's asking about because they're in a situation of like divorce or something like that, I will happily share my story in about four sentences or less. Like,
Yeah.
did it myself. He passed away. We got screwed. It's 4 years later. I still talk about it every week in my counseling appointment. There's not a week that goes by that there's not a new thing or a new emotion that gets uncovered or something that happens that just sets me off. That just every week. And he's been gone for 4 years. So just, it's
Yeah.
not worth it. It is, I would have put it all on a credit card and paid 45% interest to
Yeah.
get my estate done.
Well, and I mean, that's the point of having you on. I mean, as much as I like to bum people out, I like to have some sort of reason behind it. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, getting into that, because I know it's not easy, but it does kind of lend itself to the question like, how do you cope? How do you keep yourself uplifted? And I'm guessing that it could have something to do with one Taylor Swift.
You know,
Wait, before we pass on to that, can we get another like
Oh,
actual like real thing real quick? Before
okay.
we just
Before
get
we-
bring
sidelined.
us back.
before we go
Well,
back
no,
to the
just
Swifty
because I
land.
feel this part's really important. Whenever you were talking about the emotional parts of it, there's a lot of people who don't want to do this because of how they feel about death and how they feel about themselves. And if like they stopped and think about, okay, well, how's your family going to feel
Mhm.
later? Because you're trying to save yourself a little discomfort. Just a little food for thought. Okay, now go
Yeah.
wacky and crazy.
Well, and I
Right.
will say, so whenever we did our will the correct way, I bawled during the will signing. I bawled like a little baby. I bawled when we had to make the decision of like who would take care of the kids. It's stuff you don't want to ever think about. 100%. You don't ever want to think about anything bad happening to anyone ever. Like everything's happy and unicorns dance everywhere. But that's not life. And unfortunately, you just have to get your head out of your ass and do it because you're going to hurt the people you love. And that is really sorry. A lot of beepers there. My bad.
That's fine.
Yes, that's fine. So as I was saying,
This is what she does to me. It's fine. I'm
It's
fine.
fine. I'm
I will
fine.
never talk to a therapist
I'm
about
fine.
this. It's fine.
I'm fine. It's fine. So you may not know this, a little known fact, and by little known fact, we bring it up at least weekly. Sam basically got her job because she is a Swiftie and likes cats.
Mhm.
I think this has like come up almost in every podcast episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why
And
would it
then-
not?
Cameras are now.
It's a
Yeah.
great topic.
It
Yeah.
is.
So we've got a fairly good contingency of Swifties. So I let Sam and Sara know that, and so I think they prepared some questions for you as well.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
they're
We did.
kind of basic questions, and then we have
Okay.
some
Can I
puns
just?
we would like
All
to
right, I have to
share.
interject something. So Candice knows. I told her about how Burch Law got a suite for the Eras tour,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
that's
we did this
malarkey.
contest. We did this
Whatever.
contest where we chose people who would be selected to join us in the suite. So I wanted real fans to really be able to experience this, especially with what happened with Ticketmaster and a lot of people not getting tickets. And so what was the criteria we used? They had to do a 3-minute video.
Mhm.
They had to say their
song.
favorite song. I know, favorite song, an album that represented them,
Mhm.
right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then their favorite Taylor Swift fact or trivia.
Yeah.
And then anyone who mistakenly said anything against the album Lover, Sam said, nope, they're not in. Because
I love it. We can't
don't
hate
say
on
that
one
Somebody like
era.
about
majorly
Lover.
Yeah, there was
against it.
one lady who was like, "That is her
Not
flop
okay.
Yeah.
album," and I'm
It's
like,
like, no, you're out.
Immediate
You're
zero.
out.
yeah.
And then
What?
There was one girl that I wanted to hire because of her video.
She did,
She
yeah.
was so well spoken, but she has a real job.
So I kind of like coined this thing as we were looking through where they are fans, but they may not know everything. So they get caught not knowing something. And so someone who's a Taylor Swift fan who doesn't know something, I call them Taylor trash. And okay, I'm gonna let that sink in for Candice for a second.
How have I never heard you say that before?
Yes.
You've never heard it? She says this a lot.
She does say it a lot.
Like a lot.
I dish it out a lot. Like I'm very happy to call people Taylor trash, but I actually am currently Taylor trash because I have not thoroughly listened to the new album.
Okay, I have to leave this interview. Like we're done. Like I'm so sorry. It's been great.
Although
What?
actually I'm kind of mad at Cyntia, but then when I was thinking about it, I think she did tell me. But I was just last week. I was driving to speak, and I had it on, and I was playing. Is it "I Can Do This with a Broken Heart"?
I can do it with a broken heart.
Do it with a broken heart. So Taylor
I
Trash.
can do that.
And I'm listening to the words, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been sleeping on this song. Why did Cyntia not tell me? And I kind of feel like she and Jordan both did.
It's fine.
That's like my
yes,
anthem. That is
good song.
and it's like that hits hard. Anyway, so
listen, Spotify, and read the lyrics as she beautifully sings them, and just sob in your car or at the gym, whatever.
And then once you're done listening to it the way she put it out, then call Luke and he will tell you how he reworked the album to make it a different kind of story. My husband had some time on his hands.
Yes.
He knows more about theories than we do.
Yeah, and I just roll my eyes.
Because we're Taylor Trash.
No, we're not Taylor Trash. We're Taylor
trash,
regulars. And I'm not gonna say I'm Taylor Trash. I have my friendship bracelets on all the time. I jam out to her every day.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So presuming that everybody here has other things to go do.
Myself.
Sara Sam, what are some questions you have for Candice?
They're pretty basic ones. But we wanted to know how long you've been a Swiftie for.
Since Tim McGraw. Like,
oh, dang.
Like,
wow.
Yeah. Her country album, she toured in her country album in American Airlines. I got floor seats and I got to touch her shoulder.
Nice.
And
oh my gosh.
I was just like, I touched it. I touched her shoulder. It was very exciting. I don't think she walks through the crowd anymore like that.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so I saw her during her Fearless tour. Was my first time seeing her.
Sara and Sam, were you alive then?
Oh no, don't do that to me. Oh no.
We're alive.
Fearless.
Oh my God.
What's Marcel? We have very young people at the office. Okay.
You youths.
Like 8 or 9.
These crazy youths.
Hey, Candice, our legal receptionist, Marcel, he was born after 9/11.
No.
By like 2 weeks or something, I think.
2 weeks.
No.
After is after.
Yeah,
so
true.
To Lorie,
how old
a millisecond is after.
What does that makes him like? What, 24? 25?
Yeah.
I don't do math.
Not yet.
He just had a birthday, people.
Oh, did he? Oh, wait, he did.
He's 23.
Oh, he's a
23.
baby.
I was like, his birthday just happened.
What a wee lad.
This is just a wee little lad. Was that the only Taylor Swift question? That was so easy.
No, come on, people.
So we want to know also what your favorite song / album / era is.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
don't
tricky.
diss on Lover.
I won't diss on Lover. So
Sam will cry.
That's super tricky because like it depends on my mood, honestly. Like I don't know. I don't have a favorite era because I think they all fit different seasons of my life. And since she is like only 3 years younger than me, I feel like we had those seasons at the same time. Minus Dear John. I didn't date John Mayer or Jake Gyllenhaal. So that's sad.
Or Taylor Lautner.
Or Taylor Lautner. No one still has my scarf. I'm just going to say that. Probably I Can Do It With a Broken Heart is my favorite right now, just because I know whenever I see her in November, I will sob like I have never sobbed before when she plays that song.
I couldn't get tickets.
I'm so sorry. I got COVID and couldn't go to the one in Dallas and had to sell my tickets.
No.
So
that's tragic. Like literally.
Moment of silence.
It was.
Silent.
It was a very rough weekend around our house. No one talked to each other. Everyone was pissed. It was great.
Also, thank you for being a responsible human being.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, they were like, just go. And I was like, what? No.
Wow.
Taylor wouldn't have wanted that.
No, she wouldn't have.
And now you've been rewarded.
I know. I get to go to see her in Indianapolis. Hey.
Yes. Well, then that begs the question, how do you feel about the Lover album?
I love it. It's so happy and beautiful. Why? Why are we dissing on the Lover album?
Actually,
we're not.
It's a very depressing album.
I love it though.
I mean, yeah,
No.
good.
It's one of my
I was just like,
favorites.
whoa.
That in 1989.
I mean, I wouldn't call it depressing.
1989.
I feel like,
It's got some deep fifis.
well, she's got
Yeah.
deeps in all of them. I feel like she's got secret
She
deeps in
does.
all of them.
That
Like
one's
they're
got
like,
a lot of deeps.
Those track
I mean,
fives always hit.
she just does no wrong. I just need her to say that she is who she wants to vote for in October so she can help.
Oh, actually,
Oh.
quick segue
Yeah.
on that.
Oh,
I think we might see that, by the way. But you recently spent like 3 months in Scotland, right?
I wish 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Well, I missed you so much because there were things that happened, and I
I know.
respected you so much I didn't text you. So you went to Scotland. So I finally, after her deployment to Scotland, she returns, and we're talking. And so when people found out that you're American and you're from Texas, they asked you about two things: the Dallas Cowboys
And
and Donald
Trump.
Trump, right?
It was,
Do you remember what I
yes.
told you? I said that I feel the same about both of them. One, not a fan.
Yes.
Or no, one, not my team. Two, their fans are the worst.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And
That
it's holding up even. Yeah. They're the worst. Yeah.
And you know what's
it
really
is,
sad about
it
that?
is
Like
sad.
that's what we're exporting overseas, because did they forget that Taylor Swift is one of us? I mean, not Texan, but nor am
Well,
I.
I mean, I was kind of
She
following
belongs
her
to the
around.
world, I guess.
She does, and she was in Scotland at the same time, so I was maybe stalking her dancers to see where they were at, to see if we were going to be close in the same area. It
Yeah.
never worked out. It never worked
Yeah.
out.
We are
So
different people.
they have another Taylor Swift question for you before
Okay, I'm
we
excited.
get to the final conclusion
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
The most important one. What do you think of Travis Kelce, and do you feel like he's like good for her? Good fit?
I think so.
etc.?
I think they're cute. I think they're super cute. He
Is
got
he
on the
in game?
stage. Is he in game? I mean, I hope
She deserves
so,
her
just
in-game.
because I feel like that separation would be very public and very brutal.
Yeah.
But the
Well, for
music
him.
would be awesome. So,
Or
I
is she
mean,
gonna die a childless cat lady?
I don't know. She's never talked about kids, so I don't know if she even wants kids. I mean, that's her own situation.
Yeah.
Maybe she adopts kids. Oh,
You know,
maybe
I'm
she
I could see that.
I'm just kidding about that. Like that's a very hot topic right now because the current
maybe.
VP pick
Oh,
on
she doesn't have kids because she's a step parent because she
he
hasn't birthed
yes,
children.
he came out and yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that dude.
They're all
Childless.
different
Oh
Yeah.
people.
He also said it about
yes,
Taylor Swift, that she's a
yeah,
childless cat lady.
that jackwagon.
And then
He's
and then
swell.
he says like miserable cat ladies. And I have to tell you, as someone who has only 3 cats right now, but have had cats my whole life, I don't know any cat ladies who are miserable. So I don't know
Yeah.
where they're getting their information, but that's not how cat ladies roll. I have it
Well,
on very good authority.
let's talk about where they're getting their information on anything because it's not
Very
not
true.
right. Like it's definitely
It's
skewed.
not. So Candice,
Lorie.
to wrap us up here, Sara and Sam have prepared something very special for you. And so
Are you
we
gonna sing?
started.
No,
it's so much
God,
better.
no.
I mean,
We
they
do
can
not
do
want
this
that.
to a tune. So we started talking about legal planning, estate planning, all of that, and then we transitioned to talking about Taylor Swift. And it
As one
seems
does.
like that's the perfect opportunity to merge the two.
And tell me that you bought
And
me Taylor Swift tickets.
what does that have to do with estate planning?
I don't know. I just
Nothing. So Sam and Sara, can you take it from here and share
Yeah.
with Candice what you've come up with?
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Sara, or do you want me to go first?
Okay, so you start.
That's for the best.
I got nervous.
I'm feeling an
Wow.
outtake.
You look like you were really like rearing to go, and then you
I
just
know.
stop.
I
Okay.
got nervous. I'm sorry.
Don't be nervous. You're
So
beautiful. It's
we'll
gonna be
help-
awesome.
We'll help you shake it off. And by shake it off, we mean your worries about what happens with your estate when you've passed. This needs to be quick fire, Sara. You're not. Go.
Ensure your old cardigans go to your favorite people.
Got bad blood. Oh my God, words. Got bad blood. Take them out of your will.
Estate planning empowers you to be the man or woman and in charge of your legacy.
Feeling happy, free, confused, and lonely at the same time. Doing your estate planning will make sure you feel happy and free while avoiding confusion and loneliness for your loved ones.
That's a big ass.
Estate planning turns your wildest dreams for your future into a reality.
I'm seeing.
Wait a minute. You skipped one.
Yeah, there's a reason. It's fine.
You skipped one, and I feel like that's one of the better ones.
Because we don't do that. We were talking about how we are not somebody who just fills in a blank on a form, and that's what that says. So we decided maybe we don't do that. We don't say that we do that.
Well, no, I took it as we'll write your name in our calendar to take care of you, to write your will.
Well, it says
Like
we'll write your will.
Space for an appointment. Yes, we've got a blank space, like an appointment for you, and we'll write your will.
No, I just see we've got a blank space and we'll write your will like we're just filling in some documents. I'm like, how about we don't do that?
See, I took it as like
it doesn't say we've got blank spaces on a legal document.
We're just writing on it.
Yeah.
We're just writing some. And then Sam was like, "There's just a blank piece of paper."
It means we're still taking clients. Like we get that question, like, are you taking new clients? Yes, we got a blank space and we'll take care of you. We'll write your will.
That's how I would understand it.
Listen, I don't think that everybody would.
Who came up with that one, Sara or Sam?
Hold on. Everyone stop. Very important thing that Candice just said. She would have gotten it because she's smart.
Did you just mic drop your friendship bracelet?
I did. Yes, I did. Thank you, Sam, for getting that. This is why Sam and I can never record not the same room.
Yeah.
Because she won't be able to interpret some of the things I do.
That's fantastic.
It's April 29th.
What's April 29th?
It has a little kiwi on it for Sam.
Oh, actually, so my wife Kimberly, Blank Space is one of her favorite songs, but she always gets the titles wrong. So she called it Blank Spaces like once in her entire life, but that was enough for me because I heard it. And so her bracelet says Blank Spaces.
Aww.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And hey, will you come back and join us sometime?
I will. Thank you guys so much for having me. This has been fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.